Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look, you probably know already by the introduction, today we're taking a look at a very historical brand named STOWA. Now here is the actual box that it came in. Pretty simple cardboard box here. And we're going to go ahead and open that up. Inside we have another box. And here's where the magic happens. And here's the watch. Wow. Okay, let's get to the studio and take a closer look, guys. Alright guys, now before mainly getting into the full review of this watch, I want to give you guys a little history and background of STOWA. They're pretty, they have very rich heritage. They were used by the Luftwaffe troops, or the pilots, in World War II. And basically they resurrected, in 1997, they resurrected the brand with the 40mm model. As you know, back then, Flieger models, Flieger meaning flyer in German, they were bigger watches, even up to 55mm. I'll throw a pic on the screen right now so you can get a basic idea of what they looked like back then compared to what you see in front of you now. Now, it is completely made in Germany. They do come from the Black Forest region, and they have been around since 1927, which is a pretty long time. Now, they were one of the original 5 German brands that produced watches, or Flieger watches. The other brands being IWC, Wempe, Laco, and Lange & Söhne. Now, those brands are pretty much still around today. IWC, International Watch Company, Laco, and Lange, more on the super upper luxury horology side. But yeah, back then those brands all produced Flieger watches as well for the the German troops. And the main idea behind this whole watch was to have a watch that's very easy to read at a glance. Now, if you're a pilot in the cockpit of a fighter plane, you want to be able to just glance at your wrist and read an accurate time very easily. You also want it to fit over a flight jacket. They wore these big jackets with the helmet and the goggles, way different than it is now. So, they had to have something quite large so they can see through those goggles. And also, the crowns back then were quite bigger than the crown you would see on this watch today, because when they had those big gloves on, those leather gloves that you use for flying, you kind of had to wind it, while wearing the gloves. So that was one of the main reasons the crowns were also bigger back then. Also, you needed a very reliable watch. And, the automatic movements or the mechanical movements they used back then, I think originally they were hand wound. And they were very reliable movements, and that's a big part of it as well. Now, today in front of you is the STOWA Classic Flieger 40, hence 40mm, the name Flieger 40. Now, this watch is completely made in Germany, and let's get into it, guys. Now, I want to run through some basic specifications for you guys. So this is the Classic Flieger 40, or 40mm, so the diameter of this timepiece is a pretty standard 40mm. Back then, way bigger. Now, pretty modern, and, in terms of size, definitely pretty modern as well. So we have a 40mm diameter. In terms of thickness, we are looking at an incredibly thin 10mm, which feels really nice on the wrist. It definitely fits correct on the wrist, and we'll get more into that. Now, also, the case, of course, is made of complete stainless steel in a fine matte, and it's actually ground by hand. The finishing on this timepiece is really exquisite. It's really fine, and it's really something out of this world. I'm sort of new to the whole German watchmaking. I mean, I've had watches from Germany, but not completely made in Germany, like this brand with such a rich history in German watchmaking. As you can see, guys, the finishing on this piece is really good. It's really fine. Everything is really on point here. You won't find a mistake. It's a pretty simple case. It's a 3-piece case. You have your case, your smooth or brushed bezel here, and then your case back. Now, this is the hand-wound version. There is an ETA version as well, but I chose the hand-wound version because I think it's more traditional. The original STOWAs were hand-wound. Now, the movement inside of this watch is a very reliable, tough, robust, easy to service. ETA 2804-2. It's a hand-wound movement, has 17 joules, a 42-hour power reserve. Also, I've timed this watch over the past 3 or 4 days to see, what kind of accuracy I'm going to get from this thing. And basically, it's about plus 5 seconds a day, which is really good, It's pretty good. Most ETA movements that are COSC certified, I know I own some other watches, they run about plus 5 seconds a day as well. And keep in mind, this watch is only about $1,000. Now, this is the logo version, so as you can see, we have STOWA printed here, and then Made in Germany printed at the bottom below the 6 o'clock position. Now, the onion crown located at 3 o'clock is a very nice size, and it's definitely big enough. Back then, of course, way bigger, but now I think it looks fine for today's times. It's very easy to hand wind the watch, super smooth, guys. It's like butter. It's really nice. Now, it is a pull and push crown, only 50 meters, or 50 meters of water resistance on this timepiece, or 5 ATMs. Not something to go underwater, This is more of a kind of tooly watch, but in today's times, it's more of an everyday wear, I would say. That's what it's kind of transformed into. Back then, used for pilots and the Luftwaffe, and it was a real instrument, something that was necessary. Today, you don't really need stuff like that because we have computers and, other modern instruments. So, anyway, moving on, guys. The crystal on this timepiece, of course, we have a genuine sapphire crystal. It's slightly domed, very slightly. I don't know if you can even catch it, but it's very slightly domed. We do have an AR coating on the underside of the crystal, which helps with legibility, especially when the light hits it. As you can see, guys, the studio lights are on it right now, and definitely helps. We do have a 20 millimeter lug width here on this beautiful brown soft strap, which is extremely supple on the wrist. Comes with your 2 rivets here, which is pretty classic. This stays true to the original straps used back then, and it's really comfortable, I must say. The stitching is on point. Obviously, it's not as long as the ones back then because those needed to be extremely long to fit around those big jackets they wore. But it's a pretty nice little band here, I must say. The quality is there for the money. It does say STOWA on this brushed buckle. Very beautiful. Now the dial itself is a black matte dial. And we do have that triangle right above the, right below the 12 o'clock position with the 1 dot on the left and 1 dot on the right. At night it helps you know where you are in terms of where the hands are on the watch. It helps a little with legibility, and that's one of the main reasons that's there. Everything else is very nicely done. As you can see, everything is really on point. Everything looks really nice. Long seconds hand, which is loomed as well. All the Arabic numerals are also loomed with C3 Super Luminova. Super bright. I've never seen a watch light up this bright, guys. Wait until you see the loom shot. It's really crazy. And also, I really love that they stayed true to form on this watch in terms of the dial. The sweeping hand reaches all the way to the end, so you know exactly where you are on the dial when you check the time, which is great. But all in all, it's a really well-built watch. You feel it when you pick it up. I believe it's only about 70 grams with the strap, and I think it's just fine. I mean, it's not like a super light watch, but it's definitely heavy enough. Now, going to the case back, you might be amazed because they've done some really nice things with this ETA movement. As you can see, the case back is held down by screws here, 1, 2, 3, and 3 on the bottom, totaling in 6 screws. We do have blued screws. As you can see on the movement, we have some Geneva stripes going down here, gold filled in. It's not real gold, it's just a gold color fill in for the STOWA over here on the plate. And yeah, I mean, it looks really nice. Really nice detailing, everything looks good. Sapphire case back as well. Finishing is just as good as the rest of the watch. Now the blued hands on the front of the watch, these are heat treated or flamed blue hands. These are not those blue hands you might see on something like a Seiko. This is actually a pretty intense process. They need to do this. You know, it looks much better. It's much cleaner, especially when the natural light hits it. It just really shines blue. As you can see, it's blue over here and on the outline portion as well. And, you know, it's really classic. And in my opinion, it looks pretty classy, especially when you get a real glimpse of it. It's really nice. It's definitely really nice. So that's another huge plus. Plus the screws on the movement are blued as well, which I just showed you. Now, some other stuff about the movement. Well, it's beating at 4 Hertz, if you didn't know this, at the ETA 2804. It also does have a power reserve of 42 hours, which is more than generous at this price point, in my opinion. I just love how that thing looks. Oh my god. It's beautiful. Okay, anyway, guys. So some other stuff about the movement. 4 Hertz beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour. Now, on the case back, pretty simple. And what I do love is that it's made in Germany right here, completely legible. Everything is inscribed very nicely. And also another great touch on the case back, STOWA since 1927. I just like, you know, the classic, you know, since 1927. I think that's pretty cool there. Flieger hand winding, stainless steel, sapphire crystal, waterproof 5 ATMs or 50 meters like I explained earlier. You know, this watch is mainly all dial. If you really look at it, it's pretty much all dial, and that's what it's supposed to be. You know, in terms of wearing this watch, I've worn it for the past 3 days or so, and I can definitely say it's one of the most easy to read, legible watches I've ever worn in my life. I mean, you just glance at it and you know the time like right away. So the legibility is definitely, you know, 100% there. Now this movement does not have a screw down crown. Obviously we have the hand wound ETA movement. I'm going to pull the crown out. There we go. One position. It does hack, of course. And then we can set the time here. The time set is very nice. As you can see, I can get precisely on those markers. It's really very nice. Very smooth. Everything's really great. Now I'm going to push it back in. It'll start up again. So yeah, right now guys, I want to get you a nice lume shot. And I really want to show you the lume because it's really one of the strong points. Well, there's many strong points on this watch, of course. It has everything going for it. But let me get you guys a lume shot and I'll be right back, guys. Here is that crazy lume, guys. As you see, super legible at night. You're going to have no problem if you're out at night. It's definitely really legible. As you can see, that second sweeping hand is really bright. I mean, you can just see it sweeping around that dial. It's quite beautiful. Just look at that. Everything lights up very, very bright. No problems here whatsoever, guys. Now here is what the watch looks like on my 6.25-inch wrist. It fits really nice, guys. As you can see, completely fits kind of flat on the wrist. Definitely fits ergonomically correct on my wrist. As you can see, slight curve here on the lugs. Really quite a pleasure to wear. It's super comfortable. The strap is really comfortable, very soft. You don't have to worry about breaking it in or nothing like that. It's as you can see, it conforms right to my wrist. I mean, and plus another great thing is we do have, like you see on a two-piece NATO, you do get a holster here, which is really nice. Helps the band conform to your wrist a little bit better, and more security as well. But yeah, I think it looks quite good on my wrist. Definitely a great everyday wear watch. Also a watch, you know, if you're into, you know, history and you enjoy reading about wars and stuff like that. You're really into, you know, the whole spiel. I could definitely recommend this watch. I definitely really love this watch. I mean, I definitely have to look more into German watchmaking because they make some incredible stuff. You know, the Swiss do a great job, of course, but you know, in Germany they're doing completely different things. It's just a different feel, and the only way to experience that is to actually have it on your wrist. And I can say this is definitely a great package, especially for the price. I mean, it's, I believe, 950 euros. It does come with an ETA automatic movement as well. I'm sure some of you guys are aware of that. See, there's a lot of options. You can get the no logo, the logo. There's 2 dial options, movement options, hand wound or automatic. And, you can pretty much pick what you want. Their website will be listed in the description below if you want to check them out. They have a lot of different models, even a diving watch, I believe, which is pretty cool, especially from a brand like this. Now, I want to wrap it up here, give you guys my complete conclusion. So furthermore, in conclusion, guys, I think for the price point, you're not going to find a better pilot watch, especially a classic Flieger watch. With a brand with such rich history and heritage, it's almost impossible to find. STOWA pretty much comes out on top when it comes to Flieger-style watches, in my opinion at least, especially at this price. There's really no negatives. Everything is there. It's quite astonishing, honestly. I mean, the finishing is really nice. It's really nice, the finishing. I've never seen a brushed finish like this, honestly. I own many high-end Swiss watches and some mid-level Swiss watches. I actually don't own any other German watches besides this STOWA. And, the finishing is really, really good. I'm very surprised about that. The lume is really good. Can't beat that. I mean, as you saw in the lume shot, thing is super bright. It's actually made in Germany. And if I didn't mention, their dial, I believe their dial is actually outsourced to a manufacturing plant that manufactures dials for some really, luxurious German brands, which you probably know. So that's also something good to know about STOWA. Now, I really do enjoy this watch. I think you can't do better, guys, at this price point. I mean, everything's there. It's the complete package. And that's pretty much going to sum it up for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making it for you. Definitely check them out. They're definitely a brand that I didn't really look at in the past. And now I come to think of it, I definitely should have been looking at STOWA. Great little brand here. Definitely loving this watch, guys. So hopefully you guys can subscribe to the channel. Throw me a like. Let me know what you think in the comment section below of the STOWA Classic Flieger 40. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.